Many people here, and welcome to our October Fellowship Assembly on this last day of October. And thank you, Jim, for dressing up and reminding us that it's Halloween. So in Rotary, the focus for October was economic and community development. And just to recap a little bit of what the Rotary Foundation explains is the focus for this economic and community development. Our Rotary Foundation enables us as Rotarians to invest in people, and we do it by creating sustainable and measurable and long-term economic improvements in their communities and their livelihoods. And one of the ways that we do this, or several of the ways that we can do this, is by building capacity of entrepreneurs and community leaders to help local organizations and community networks to support their economic plans and developments in their communities. We also can develop opportunities for productive work, and we try to reduce poverty in underserved communities. And another way is supporting studies for career-minded professionals related to economic and community development to give us some guidelines as to how we can help communities. In this past month, October 24th was World Polio Day, which is something big for Rotarians to celebrate because we have had a huge impact in the world in eliminating polio, and we're almost there. So we're to be congratulated. And because the Rotary Foundation and the Polio Fund is a big support to Rotarians in their service projects, I would like to encourage everybody to remember to donate to both of those, the Rotary Fund and the Polio Fund. So I hand this back to Kim.
So, Kit, do you want to introduce Alain?
I would be delighted to introduce Alain. So Alain Gerard, wave Alain down below, is a newish member to our Rotary Club of Medicine Hat. And he is probably the best thing that's happened to our club since the discovery of coffee. He's like in a group, you'll watch him. He will pick up, like he's a sonar guy, and he'll pick up on the vibes of what's going on in the group, whether it's in person or on Zoom, and then he responds to those. In terms of community and economic development, he's here for not only Medicine Hat, but Calgary and Ukraine. We met as compatriots and probably co-conspirators on a project to help Ukraine with rehabilitation equipment. Alain's background is logistics. He moves things around the world. And my belief is that if he had been in a meeting with Archimedes, and if he had heard Archimedes say, just give me a rod large enough and a place to put it, I could lift the world. And afterward, Alain would have come up quietly and said, well, it might take a while to source a rod that long, but if you tell me where you want it, I can get it there. So Alain, take it.
Oh my, thank you so much. That's very, that's the best introduction I've ever had in my life. Thank you. Is it possible to share the presentation, Kim? I have a presentation here. Share. And I should use the. Oh, here it is. There we go. So everybody can see my presentation?
Yeah.
I assume. So one of the reasons of the many things that I did in the military and post-military was work with the United Nations, of course. And of all the things we do as soldiers, the most difficult thing is how we deal with people that are not soldiers in areas of war, in areas of conflict, in areas of disaster. And so when you go into an earthquake, for example, post-earthquake support, you see all these people walking the streets, dizzy, disoriented, and you feel like there's nothing you can do that's good enough to help them out. In Sudan, as an example, I gave a chocolate bar to a young boy who was so skinny, and he gave me a piece back. And believe me, if you saw me, I do not miss a meal. So therefore, I didn't feel I needed that extra piece of chocolate. But that's the kind of stuff that makes you think. And so when I joined the Rotary and I heard of the efforts they were doing towards peace, it seemed to be something that fit for me very well. The situation that we have is that in Ukraine, a lot of equipment is required, a lot of supplies are required for people that are affected by the war. And so therefore we started a process. Jerry Derechuk, as our leader, really started a process of providing equipment, medical equipment. We work with Medical Mercy, we work with AJ's Loan Cupboard here in Medicine Hat, and we work with Firefighters Aid Ukraine in Edmonton, and more organizations, as you will see during my presentations, are involved. The quantity of support from volunteers to Ukraine is amazing, and it's global. Our first shipment as a proof of concept was not only to prove our ability to ship it over there. Shipping it over there is actually quite easy. The difficulty was actually to establish the need. So we could ship everything that we have to Ukraine, and it would end up in piles unused if it wasn't targeted to a group or a charity that will do something with it. So establishing the requirement is first and foremost. As we send firefighting equipment, crutches, you name it, it is important to make sure that whoever is going to receive it has the ability and knows where it's needed. So that was the most important part. Acquisition is also important. You will find that it's a lot cheaper to acquire something in Sweden or Germany than to acquire something in Canada and ship it from here. Those were discussed and often discussed with Jerry and people that are donating things out of Alberta. And the donations come in large quantities. You wouldn't believe the amount of warehouse of donated equipment that exists in Alberta right now. Warehousing and consolidation, I'll explain as one, was something that we had to establish because warehousing is quite expensive. As you well know, rentals space is expensive. So a lot of volunteers, a lot of volunteer companies are giving us free warehousing right now, and we don't know how long that can last. The delivery, which is the highest cost, is basically to make sure that it's traceable, more important than anything else. So to ship a container, to get a container together and make sure it gets to destination is important. Many people have lost their containers along the way because of theft or because of simply not having a proper coordination with the need in the first place. One of the things we realize is that uh, these containers are part of thousands of containers that move to Europe. And so traceability is the most important part. And that's really where I come in the most, I guess. So if you look at the roles and responsibilities, and you can see here some dental equipment that was donated, um, defining the requirement, um, getting the donations that meet this requirement, and putting it together is the task that we went through, and making sure that the person at destination is able to report back and saying, I have your donations, they will be used here, there, and there, and so on. Warehousing and consolidation is a global activity in the world, and this is something that I've done from Asia to Europe to Africa to South America. It doesn't matter where. There are many professionals that will help us to take a container, ship it through, trace it again, track it and trace it, and make sure that it gets to destination. I've been working with one in particular that I trust and know. Rock Precision, and his company moves things all over the world. They have a network of agents that are all entrepreneurs, and they will help me out. And so it wasn't surprising when I was asked to help to support a concept of operation for Jordan for refugee camps, for example, that within a day, Rock came back and said, talk to this person, talk to that person. And so we were able to establish that strategy for them. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people in those camps. What's important to understand, it's not Al that does anything. Al just talks about it and coordinates. We have Rotarians everywhere and organizations everywhere that support us. And that's multiple language use. And that was the fun part, I guess, is I realized that in Ukraine, they speak French almost more than they speak English. Therefore, quite often I was explaining myself in French rather than English. And Igor in Edmonton area would speak French to me. And then as you saw the translations and the length of the meetings between us, a lot of time was spent just explaining ourselves in paragraphs, I guess, where we'd say a few things so that Igor would translate. And his brain was amazing to be able to accept different languages and translated in Ukrainian. So he's actually able to take all of these languages that you see there and just pass it on. And we got the job done this way. So as you can see, there's a lot of people. I would say the first container was easily 40 people got involved in it and helped out. There's some observations I want to share with you. The individual donors who want to give items, I respect that. But if it's not needed, we have to say no. And that's a very difficult task, to say no to someone who wants to donate something to help out, who they feel as individuals are able to do it. The physical warehouse, if you wish, is just a working area. What's important in our concept is that we are a virtual warehouse. So for me, whether the material is at your house, whether it's at another location, my warehouse is, I know where the stuff is, and it doesn't have to be in one physical location. So if somebody has something to donate, I'm working very hard with Jerry to try to get everybody to understand that it doesn't have to come to a warehouse to be available to us. So if I know, for example, I'm looking at Jim's picture right now, go, Jim, you have something to donate, it's in your garage. I can actually set up my virtual warehouse knowing that there's an item that Jim has in his garage. And so I can manage it that way. The preparation, the cleaning, the packaging, you may or may not know, for example, that if I use wood to crate something, I need to use wood that is treated in a certain way. Otherwise, it will not make it through customs at destination. For that matter, it may not even leave Canada. The security of the activity is important. So you should know that there is a group in England, which Igor participated in, which actually sends convoys of vehicles on a regular basis with equipment and vehicles from England to Ukraine. And their issue is that they have to be very secretive about it in some ways. I'm not giving away any secret, that I'm not telling you the dates or the times that they're leaving, but they actually could be intercepted between England and Ukraine as they travel. We shipped 2 fire trucks to France. The Firefighters Aid Ukraine, I was really impressed with them when they actually drove the vehicles to Halifax to save cost. And basically, we loaded this into containers and they picked it up in Le Havre and drove to Ukraine from Le Havre in France. That was an amazing task. And they did a super job with these vehicles, training people on how to detect bomb using, they brought even dogs, bomb sniffing dogs with them. And they did a fantastic job. But all of that had to be secure. And how secure do you get in logistics? It's very difficult. There are people that know that we're doing this, obviously. Any cost must be pre-approved and funding matched to the cost items. That is the Rotarian way, and I like it. I like the traceability of all our expenses. And so we have to make sure that the funds that I have are funds for logistics. I cannot use these funds to buy anything other than logistic services. All our communications and correspondence has to be clear to the path of delivery. So with Rock, I'm able to go into his system and trace everything. I can tell you the containers in Montreal. I can tell you that CP Rail spent so much money and charged so much money to Rock, and Rock becomes the one that pays for everything and then provides all of the information to us in a very friendly and open way. And that transparency, I think, is important. So using any means of transportation, any freight forwarder can do that job. My issue is that I trust one, and until I can trust another, which I will trust others, it's not the issue, is that I need to make sure that they tell me what it is correctly. So the details of cost is important. The final invoice was $23,000, but I was able to get pro bono work completed by WTS Logistics and Western Crating, which is coordinated by Rock. And so the cost of rotary was only $9,796. It's very important that people saw a previous container was shipped in pre-COVID, and that cost was in the $5,000-6,000. That's the increase in cost due to inflation and due to the need for transporting. And people need to understand, we see containers move back and forth. If you look at Shanghai, for example, they have backlogs of months in their container shipments to Canada. A ship arriving in Vancouver could stay in Vancouver for several days before it gets a berthing spot to offload. Going into Europe is not so bad right now, but leaving Halifax on time still is a challenge. And a container that's not properly documented will be bumped without any communications to us until after the ship leaves. So the costs are higher. And this is why, in some ways, we have to find things outside of Canada. Finding things in Europe would be ideal. But I look at it differently. Value for money, let's see if I can move this a bit here. Value for money, it's not about the cost of the shipment. That's where we spend our monies on shipment. But if our dental equipment serves 4,000 patients over 2 years, and it's equipment that they actually do not have right now or cannot acquire right now, then the cost is really only $5.88 per patient. And that's the way I think. I know that it costs a lot of money for logistics. Believe me, I know. I've spent fortunes on your behalf as a military person shipping things all over the world. But it has to be a cost per something. And this is where you realize the value that the money has. Right now, in addition to that $5.88, we shipped a whole skid that was about 8 feet long, 10 feet high, 10 feet wide, of medical equipment, wheelchairs, crutches, that made it, and that will help approximately 200 patients per month. So that's what you have to look at it when you spend $9,000. Yes, you spend $9,000 on paying for a container to move, but you're really spending $5.88 per patient, and you're providing support to 200 patients per month who otherwise would not have that information. And I hope that's I'm really prepared to answer questions on that part, which is probably the most important part of the presentation. If I'm going too fast, let me know. I am French, so therefore I have a tendency to speak fast. Right now, we have 2 more containers that are being prepared for shipments. They will probably leave before the end of November, one in Calgary, one in Edmonton. The one in Calgary is full of dental equipment and will have additional equipment for Medical Mercy with crutches and wheelchairs, as well as AJs. I've put a package together, and I'm talking to Medical Mercy about consolidating all of that. And one in Edmonton, which has totes of bunker gear for firefighting, uh, helmets, etc., as well as something done by Jarvis. Jarvis Kosovan is really the key guy to procure things in Alberta, and he's actually able to scrounge from Alberta Health Services a substantial amount of pallets of equipment from them that is no longer needed or obsolete from an Alberta health perspective. We just finished a whole bunch of communications with Kit and others to convince Alberta Health that we weren't going to take it and sell it on the open market, which is fair, and it has to be done. Transparency, again, important. We have 7 fire trucks and 2 ambulances being prepared for shipment from Edmonton. That's going to take some time. We actually moved 2 ambulances, 2 ambulance trucks, as I mentioned, from Halifax to Le Havre and then onwards. The fact that these firefighters took their holiday time to drive it to Halifax from Edmonton and to drive it from France to Ukraine is simply impressive. You can only admire what they're doing. We're working on a project to acquire RCMP vehicles for police support. There are over 7,000 RCMP vehicles available. We're lucky to have in Medicine Hat a retired senior officer of the RCMP. And Joe is communicated with top leadership and was able to unplug. He's very humble about it. He said, well, I just had a 2-minute conversation. And I feel that anybody that has a 2-minute conversation with him is blessed because he gets things done. So I was we know now that the RCMP is preparing some of these vehicles. And in some ways we're fortunate because the event in Nova Scotia where this individual stole a police vehicle and rearranged it and so on, and unfortunately hurt and killed a lot of people there, resulted in the RCMP not being able to sell vehicles in Canada. I don't know how long that will take to reestablish, but for the time being, there's a tremendous inventory of various police vehicles available, which are in dire need in Ukraine. Their vehicles get destroyed a lot. I'm setting up a presentation from my son-in-law, who's a research scientist at the base here in Suffield near Medicine Hat. And Kit, you will find that, and either you'll find that all of the drone stuff that he will talk about as videos from Ukraine where you see vehicles can get destroyed very, very quickly. In the state of Minnesota, there's 1,000 prosthesis, and I don't know, Kit was leading that process, and I don't know if it's going to leave at one point, but this is an example that I put there that doctors, dentists, surgeons are all willing to provide equipment. The quantity could be overwhelming, and so it's important for us to manage it properly, to help them bring it to us and for us to move it forward. Again, at a cost of $9,000 for a container, 1,000 prosthesis probably fits in a container with other equipment. But what these people need to realize is that somebody's got to put some money towards that shipment. And so that is a challenge. It's a very big challenge. I want to leave you with this, and I'll let you read it. This comes from Alain, who is our coordinator in Ukraine to receive material. So from my perspective, I wanted to put that there and I just copied it. If there was a typo in it, I didn't even correct it because it came from her heart. And so I thought that would pass a message far greater than the rest of my presentation. And that's pretty much it, ladies and gents. That's what I have for you. I can stop sharing or I can leave the presentation on, your choice.
If you wouldn't mind taking it off, Alain, we have another presentation as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Alain?
Well, in terms of what you do with this information or what RECCO does, or any of the clubs that have seen this presentation is talk about it, see how you or your club might want to help. We accept donations for helping with shipment. A lot of people don't want to spend money on shipments because it's more glamorous to do a few other things, but the money's needed, it's well used, it's well tracked. That's pretty much out. And there's another project that we're involved in with Estonia Rotarians that is putting together sauna trucks that go into just outside the war zone, and they provide clean clothes and a sauna and a little bit of rest and medical and emotional support for the soldiers, and then they send them back into that mess again. So anything you want that you want to ask Alain about, I can't call him Al. He is not an Al to me. He's an Alain. Anyway, but we're more than welcome to help.
And I would welcome any volunteers that want to join our team and communicate with us and see how they can help, especially this e-club. I believe that you're pretty much all over the world. So that would be awesome if somebody in Europe would help us out with some communications and some efforts.
Conrad, do you have a question?
I do. I'm wondering how to connect with Alain.
I'm on the email, I guess, of this meeting.
Yes,
or maybe
if
not.
you wanted to just put your contact info in the chat box, then everyone can see it. That would work.
Okay, I will do
Right.
to everyone.
The reason I ask Alain is I'm working with the 32nd Combat Brigade here in Toronto,
Oh, cool.
which next year is deploying to Operation Reassurance. And right now, I'm not sure how we could work together, but I definitely have some questions written down. So
Okay, no problem.
In what other ways can people volunteer? What capacities can they help?
I can see that people can help in the acquisition of material across Canada. Why am I, this is not working. I can see that people can help in working with me to coordinate. Obviously, what Conrad is doing might be an interesting counterpart to be with us on other activities from the Ontario area. Obviously, things would be a lot cheaper if we acquired things in Ontario rather than Alberta and take it to a port in Montreal or something like that. So those are all the kinds of things that people can think about. And just being part of the communication. Sometimes we don't have monopoly on ideas and ways. So if somebody has expertise, we welcome it and we will use it. And so sometimes it's just a question of being in a meeting and said, have you thought about this? So if somebody's interested in our project, we'll gladly add them to the team. I know Jarvis is a bit overwhelmed in the acquisition part because he still operates a business and runs a business where I'm definitely retired.
Well, the other thing, you look at Kim in our RECCO group. Kim said, what can I do to help? I'm a walker. So she did a GoFundMe page and raised money as if she were walking to Ukraine from where her husband was born in Spain. And then she donated money. So there are lots of little ways. That wasn't little.
Okay, if there are no more questions, Kim or Vicki, can we move on to the next part?
Alain, thank you very much. That was very interesting.
Yes, it was. Thank you,
You're most
Alain.
welcome. You're most welcome.
Judy, do you want to introduce Nancy?
Yes, so it's my pleasure to introduce the founder of Casa Hogar, Los Angelitos. I first met Nancy at a Rotary meeting in Manzanillo about 20 years ago, I think it was. I was so impressed with the orphanage that she ran then and still runs. Went to visit it and ever since been involved in some way with the orphanage. They took in and still do street orphans, and the police would bring children in. When the orphanage was run by the Catholic nuns closed, all of the children were brought to Casa Hogar. The children there, not only were they given food, a place to live, love, schooling, they also had an opportunity to learn how to dance, Mexican folkloric dancing, and to learn to play musical instruments. Their dance group came to Alberta twice to entertain Rotarians and friends. The Edmonton Public School Board donated used instruments, and my husband Ron and I brought them to Mexico in our van. Every year for the last 12 years, Ron, my husband, has been Santa to the kids at CHLA at the Christmas party. Every child receives a gift. We've seen so many of them grow up from being little kids to going to university. Casa Hogar is their home and their family. Nancy is Mamacita to all of the children there. We're happy to help and are glad that RECCO is also helping CHLA. Now, I think that we have an introductory video first, Nancy, and then Nancy's going to speak.
Is there supposed to be sound? You need to click that little button at the bottom of the screen.
I have the sound turned on.
Before you actually share the screen, I think you have the video show up, and then at the bottom it says you can share the sound.
Yeah, I did that earlier and it played for me. I'll just stop it and try again here. Sorry, folks. I don't see it, Kitty.
When you go to share, it should be at the bottom, a couple of little boxes that you check off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
On the
so
bottom left.
it says on the audio side.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that.
And there's a box that you have to check.
Okay, Jim, I'm just going to share the screen for a minute. Maybe you can see it or make you co-host. I just can't get it to open here. Okay, you're a co-host now.
You should be able to.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
don't.
So, Tammy, as soon as you click share,
Yeah.
on my computer on the right-hand side, it says.
Oh, I
layout
see it. Okay, there we
options.
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
share sound. So click them both off.
Okay. I'll try it again here.
Here we go.
Thanks.
Is that the right video?
That's not the right video. It must have jumped to the next video after or something.
The video name title should be unconditional. I think it's at the top left-hand side of your screen. That's not the right video. I mean, it looks like a good video, but it's up on the top left-hand side of your screen.
Unconditional.
Unconditional, yeah.
Up higher.
There we go.
Okay. Too bad.
You're on mute, Tammy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it again. I had it up there and now it's disappeared on me, so.
When you were playing the other video.
Yeah, I saw it, but I have to just go back into the,
Well, while you're looking for that, and as soon as you click it and it comes on, I'll stop. But I want to just take the opportunity to thank you guys. Judy, I want to thank you for inviting me. I haven't seen you since last year, and I'm looking forward to this Christmas for sure.
Yes.
All the kids.
Santa will be there again.
Activities. That's going to be so much fun. And also would like to let people know I am a member of the Manzanillo Rotary, have been since 2001, I believe. And I was first woman member. So that's kind of my only claim to fame down there. But I love Rotary and I love what Rotary does. It's been a tremendous blessing for me throughout all of this time. And as Judy mentioned before, it was the people in Edmonton that helped us with all of our band instruments to give us our horns and our accordions and all kinds of things like that. And also it was Rotary. That one doesn't look like, okay, I'm just waiting. When you guys have it, let me know. And it was also Rotary that provided our commercial kitchen to feed hundreds of meals and to go through all of these years. And this was almost 20 years ago, 21 years ago that happened, and 2 of our vans and so much more. Rotary has been such a great part. And when I'm looking at you guys and looking at the introductions, I can't believe we have people from Madrid. We have people Irish. I don't know if you're in Ireland or not, but I love to hear the Irish brogue and people in Guatemala. And I'm not in Mexico right now, but I will be in 2 more weeks. And what a fantastic group that you guys have there. I'd like to be a member, except I'm already a member in Manzanillo. So,
but you could be. We have two members, don't we, that are belong to other clubs, but are also members of our club. As what are they called? Just
Associate.
Associate members. So you can also belong to our club.
Well, it would be great fun. I just love the mix of people that you hear up here and all the activities. And I wanted to ask Alain, where were you when we were trying to ship dental equipment down to our dental clinic?
Okay, we've got it up now.
De pobreza,
right,
pero
super,
muchas veces
super.
tenemos esa mentalidad de pobreza y de conformismo. Si mi familia es pobre, yo también voy a ser pobre. Nosotros trabajamos para romper precisamente estas cadenas y que los niños puedan crecer.
I'd heard about this home for children that had been opened by this lovely woman, and nobody could quite tell me who she was. And one night I was at a party and somebody walked up to me and said, "You need to meet Nancy Nystrom." I said, "Yeah."
Ella me decía, si tú conocieras el proyecto, te enamorarías de él.
Muchos de los limitantes por los cuales algunas familias no crecen en lo social o en lo económico, pues se debe a la falta de educación.
Que llegamos en un grado de vivir en situación de calle, dormíamos en la playa, recolectábamos botellas de plástico para poder sobrevivir. Una persona me recomendó que pidiera yo apoyo a la Casa Hogar de los Angelitos. Le digo, y a mí me dolía también separarme, pero yo sabía que pues, lo estaba haciendo por su bien, porque ya no quería que siguieran sufriendo.
What struck me with Casa Hogar Los Angelitos was as soon as you walk in, there's a culture. They understand the value of education and how that's a ticket for these kids to be able to become independent. They understand the value of creativity and helping kids heal from trauma.
Yo creo que tenemos a estos niños que podemos enseñarles el camino correcto, el camino de integridad, el camino de la honestidad, el camino del éxito.
We're changing lives, truly. And in changing lives, you're changing the world.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing that and getting that put together. I will give a little bit of history here. Some of you may have been in Edmonton when we brought the Ballet Folklorico there. I know Judy was there, and there might be some others. I think this was maybe in about 2017 or 16, something like that. A fantastic, wonderful trip. We've been to Alberta twice with our Ballet Folkloric tour, and maybe we can do it again. We'd love to. We'd love to go to Madrid, Spain, and do our Mexican Ballet Folklorico as well, and maybe some of the other places in Europe. Canada and Europe is a lot easier for us to get visas to and to go and to visit than the US right now. So we're looking forward to that one time a year of maybe being invited for something. Casa Hogar Los Angelitos was established after the death of my son in 1994. And we began, we had a home in Manzanillo since 1982. And after my son died and some different things happened in my life, I began feeding street children and extremely poor children, waiting for permission to open the doors of a full-time facility, which I felt, I'm going to use the word led or inspired or whatever you want to say, to begin an orphanage there in Manzanillo. We finally were able to open the doors and have full-time children in June 6th of 1996. So we've been doing this a long time. It's almost 29 years working with children. And these are the children that have been abused, abandoned, victims of crime, extremely neglected, all of the children that are to some extent considered throwaway children. We've had probably over the last 29 years, almost 1,000 children that have passed through our doors in one way or another, either in temporary care, full-time care, or just providing food and nourishment and help with their life. We are the only place that will take children in an emergency situation when the government brings them in. One year, for example, we had a little boy that was running away from home from Veracruz, and he was on the train and he fell off and the train ran over his arm and they had no place. They picked him up. The government picked him up. So we cared for him until they could find his parents and to take him back to his home. We've taken care of migrant workers that were not able to, that were fired and weren't able to get back to their home, and they've come in and we've helped to care for them for weeks and put them into training and education. It's just, we do this because there is a need, but our main thrust is caring for children full-time and changing their lives. Manzanillo is, which is where Casa Hogar Los Angelitos is located, I think is one of the most beautiful towns and communities in the world. Now, I know that maybe we have other places in other parts of the world that are beautiful, but I love Manzanillo. And it's on the Pacific coast, south of the better known town of Puerto Vallarta. Manzanillo is also considered the shellfish capital of the world. And it has two of Mexico's most famous golf courses, and those of us who are
I believe Nancy is frozen.
Must be cold snap where she is.
Oh dear.
All kinds of challenges today.
Yes. But if you want to find out more, you're sharing the website for.
I did put the
group,
website.
and then people will be able to
Yeah.
go to the website and you can find out information about the organization as well from that.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that
She's
this has
disappeared
happened.
completely.
Oh,
Yeah.
she'll probably try to get back in.
Back in. Yeah. Sorry about this.
No, that's, yeah.
It's technicalities. And for those, our friends from Spain who are, I don't know if you've started your e-club or you're thinking of doing it. These are some of the challenges that you can face. It doesn't happen every time, but it's no different than a Terra Club when somebody doesn't show up or does.
It's highly unusual.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tammy, there must have been a cold snap where she was.
I don't know. I had everything ready to go
Frozen.
this morning and yeah, just didn't cooperate.
Judy, can I just ask?
Technology challenge.
yeah. Ask
How many
questions to me.
kids do
I know quite a bit about it.
How many kids do they look after? And
Up to 80 at a time.
Oh, wow.
We've been there some years where they've had 80 children, sometimes 60. It just depends on the circle. When there were 25 kids that came from that the nuns orphanage. That would be in probably the late 2008, 9, something like that. So it fluctuates. As she said, sometimes the kids are just there for a while, but there are kids that have been there since they were 2 years old. They don't have, that's their home. And there were the first 2 young boys that they had, they found they were age 5 and 8 or 6 and 8, found them just living on the street and took them in. And those 2 boys are now late 20s and they both are finished university. They're big, strapping, handsome young men. And, they're like, all of them are like her children. Oh, there she is. Okay, Nancy, continue.
Oh boy, just exactly. I probably should not have spoken that out loud.
Oh, you're on twice now.
I know. Leaving this one. Hopefully this one works.
Okay.
So sorry. It's one of those things that usually happens in Mexico when I'm in Mexico, but Houston is probably just about as bad. So anyway, I will try to continue and hope we'll make it through, and hopefully we'll have time for you guys to ask any questions. So I'm talking about Manzanillo and really what a beautiful, in my opinion, wonderful place that it is. And it's the largest container port, second largest on the Pacific, the largest in Mexico. And this provides jobs and it provides economic growth for the area, for the community. So Manzanillo really is a working city. But this wonderful port and economic opportunity, while it provides a very safe and beautiful spot for tourists and expats who make Manzanillo their home, it also has a cartel presence vying for the port, which affects prostitution, alcoholism, drug addiction, and human trafficking. A number of containers and things come through Manzanillo at the port that has drugs, or that they come in by trucking as well, and human trafficking, this kind of thing. So this is a dark side that we are more involved with. Most tourists have no idea of really what's going on. We have been working, or try to work, with government officials, with the education system in Mexico, and the state and local social workers to provide opportunity for as many children as we can that we're able to rescue, to care for. We provide, it's 24 hours, it's full-time, it's like a home. It is not, they don't leave and go away or come and go unless it's a temporary thing. They might be there for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 1 year, and then are able to go back to their home or wherever they're from. So what we do when children come in, the most important thing is to give them that sense of value. Every child that comes into the Casa Hogar comes in with trauma. They come in feeling that they have no worth. Obviously, they've either been abandoned, they've been abused, they've been treated as if they have no worth. And so they come in with a huge, painful package in their heart and on their back. So the first thing thing we try to do is to create an atmosphere where they feel that they are loved and cared for and that they have worth. One of the things that we do, we're not a church, we're not a religious organization for such, but one of the things that we do is to give them the feeling that, yes, God loves you. Whether there's anyone else around or not, you can always carry that in your heart. And God loves you so much. And that's one of the reasons that you are here, because you have been brought here, and he sees your heart and he loves you and he cares. Because every child needs to feel like they have something inside of them, a feeling, a person, a being that they can go to and that really cares about them. We're very different from other organizations, other Casa Hogars or children's homes. And Casa Hogar is just a term that's used in Mexico. I don't know if it's used in Guatemala or other parts of South America or Central America, but it's used in Mexico as a terminology instead of, most of the time, instead of orphanage. They also use Casa Hogar for Casa Hogar Ancianos, for the old folks home, Casa Hogars for a medical care, whatever it might be. So Casa Hogar is a term that we use, and we are Los Angelitos. What we do that I think that makes it very different, we're not a warehouse. Many of the organizations kind of tend to be a warehouse, but our goal is to provide this emotional, physical, and educational care that can actually change their lives and help them to become productive citizens of society. We don't throw them away, we don't send them away when they reach a certain age, and we give them the opportunity for education to go all the way through college or secondary training as far as they want to go, as long as they follow the rules and stay in school and work hard to do a good job to become successful. Today, right now in the Casa Hogar, we have 4 in college. We provide all the funding. We're not funded by any other organization per se. We look for funds. I look for funds wherever I can. It's one of the reasons I come back to the United States and go and visit or speak. It's because we're always looking for funding to help with different projects and trying to expand and develop the programs that we have. We have although when we first started, it was hard to get children even through the 6th grade. The mentality was not to go to school. Mentality was to, as soon as you reach a certain age, to go back to where you came from and go to work. So we have spent these years developing a different mentality, that education was important. You need to get your education. It's a constant thing that we're saying to these children. You need to get your education. We will help you to do that. You just have to do your part as well. So we have graduates from that eventually, and it wasn't until I think maybe 2014, it was like 12 years after we started, that we began to get these kids coming up and graduating from high school and then into college. We have 4, the young people that are in college now, but we have graduates that are medical doctors, dentists, accountants, architects, administration, tourist services, teachers, import, export, working at the port, international business, and so many others. And I am so proud of that, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's very costly, and it's a constant support working with these children to get them to that point. When the kids come in, most of them come in with no education, so we tutor them. We have to get them to a certain level where they can attend school. They have to be able to pass a test in order to get in, say, to the 2nd grade if they're older children. And so then we tutor them once they're entered into school so that they can become successful. And at the Casa Hogar, we provide English classes, music classes, we provide ballet, we provide dance, we provide activities, physical activities, and art programs. I believe personally, and I think Rotary is very much in agreement with that it's education that changes lives and can change the world. And we've seen that happen with Casa Hogar and in the community, where we provide programs for the community members as well. We're constantly reaching out and helping people in the community with different activities. Our folkloric ballet program is probably one of the best examples of that. We provide training and opportunities for young people in the community to learn and develop confidence, self-esteem. They do performances. They have to learn self-discipline. They have to learn to work in a group. They become so special. I don't know how to say this, but if you see one of our ballet members walking down the street, you can say, I bet he's a member of the ballet because of the way he holds himself, the way he walks, and the self-confidence that he has. So we give this opportunity to the community as well as our own children in the Casa Hogar. And our ballet is probably, on any given time, there's 80 members of that. We tour internationally once a year. They're all in school. All the kids are in school. And so, and Judy can tell you guys later, I'm very proud, and I don't think I'm prejudiced when I say it is a spectacular program that we present for whenever we make a tour representing Mexico and our young people. So it's kind of a leadership program for them as well. We want them to have that experience. We want them to be able to feel like they are doing something. People are applauding. People are looking at them and giving them that sense of you are something. You are valuable. You are what a beautiful, and they are all very, very beautiful. As I said earlier, most of our children have come from different situations. Almost all of them are dangerous situations in some way or another. We've had children in there that were family members of some of the largest cartels in Mexico, in southern Mexico. We have had children in there that most of them, many of them, their mothers are prostitutes or from prostitution. Their families are crime families. So we have to be very, very careful about how we do things and what we do. One little girl who's 6, almost 7 now, is in school, was brought to us by the police. And she was wandering the street alone, not quite 3 years old at that time. When she arrived, we didn't know, the police didn't know, no one knew who she was, what her name was, who her family was, or anything about her. So they brought her in, and she didn't have a name. So we told her she could choose her own name. She chose the name Lupita Chiquita because she was the youngest, the littlest of the Lupitas in the Casa Hogar. She would walk around looking for her baby, my baby, my baby. We thought it was a doll. She was looking for a doll that she had left. But in the investigation further, we discovered that she had been able to escape a situation where both her mother and her baby brother were murdered and was wandering the streets. So this is the kinds of situations that we deal with. We take the ones that other places won't take because number one, it's too dangerous. Number two, it's a lot of work because they all come with a lot of baggage and problems that you have to deal with. So we have psychologists that we work with. Our general director, Dr. Gieber, is a medical doctor and has studied the different addictions as well as medical and other things. We have teachers that come and that tutor our children, and we have a pretty full staff, social workers, people that work with the family. Last March, a year and a half ago, we had to have armed guards because we had a situation that came up that we were threatened, and some of our lives were threatened. So we're doing a lot. I want to say that, and to sure, tourists, you're fine. You're great to come down and come and visit us, but the work itself is not always easy. And I give you an example of another young man, Daniel. He was living on the beach and doing odd jobs to try and survive. And he was brought into us by the social services when he was 18. This has been about a year and a half ago now. And he had not had the opportunity to attend school. So when he came in, he's a good looking man. He's smart and he's sweet natured, and his smile just makes your heart melt. We tutored him. We put him in a special education program this past year. And in January, over the New Year's Eve, we asked all the kids, well, what is your goal for next year? And Daniel said, I just want to graduate the 6th grade. And here he is, 14 years old, wanting to graduate from the 6th grade. And he did. And he did. And now he's on a fast track through junior high, and hopefully he'll be able to skip another couple of grades and catch up somewhat to the kids in his age bracket. Daniel's part of the ballet program, and he's studying English, and he's already talking about what he wants to study when he goes to college. So this two different ones, a small, very little girl that came in, and hopefully will be able to make a tremendous difference in her life of where she will be at some point. And then Daniel, who comes in as a teenager. Most places don't take teenagers. If you're over 12, they don't take you because it's could be too dangerous, but we do. And we don't take teenagers or people that have a drug issue, although we're starting a program to help with that. Well, I've given just a couple of short stories, but every child that comes in, every child that has come in over the years has their own story, and it's heart-wrenching. Some are victims of sexual, emotional, and physical abuse. Some, as I said before, crime situations. Some have been abandoned. Some are just from extreme neglect and poverty. We take all the cases that others won't take. So our work doesn't end. We don't feel that it ends with the children, even though that's a major work in itself. We teach our children to give back to the community several different times throughout the year. We take used clothing and food to people in extreme poverty. We have the children take them in the mountains and the different communities for them to learn to give back. We think it's very important for young people to learn that. We work with different areas of our community, and through our ballet folkloric program, we help young people in the community to become successful. We give them scholarships. We're constantly trying to do things in our state and in our local community that will benefit all of the community. I think that a subject that most people that we don't talk about very much, but one of the benefits of the program that we do, that teaching self-esteem, teaching self-discipline, teaching self-confidence, all of these things, is to help with the problem that we have going right now in the world, which is child trafficking. I believe that the children that are generally taken are children that are vulnerable. They're the ones that are trafficked because people know, the traffickers, they know this child has no one, this child has no self-esteem. If we offer them 20 pesos to take us over here to show us something, they'll take the 20 pesos and do it, even though it might later mean that their life is in danger. So the number one thing through our education and through our programs is trying to keep these kids from being vulnerable to this kind of thing, to try and keep them from being vulnerable going into crime and into this type of activity. So I know I haven't covered, well, a lot of things. We have a dental clinic there. We have so many things that we do, and we open up to the community as well as to our own children. I hope that we can. The work hasn't been easy, and this last 3 years, and with COVID, has been a tremendous challenge. But God willing, and with continued help with people like you, like Judy, and all of you, we will continue as long as we can to do this kind of work and to save as many children, and to rescue, save, and to educate as many children as we can. Tammy has a needs list that I think she's putting up on the chat or putting up someplace that you can go back and to look at. It's quite extensive, of course, as you can imagine, and we put things on there not only for general annual expenses, but specific maintenance and upkeep, because these are the things that constantly are needing to be done. Building maintenance, repairs, upgrades, the furniture gets broken. We have to paint every year because of being in a tropical area. We have to, with having so many children, so many people going through our facilities, we're constantly having to do maintenance. And that, of course, costs money. And so we do the things that we feel are the most urgent. and try to look for funding to do the rest. So I've given you this list. You can go through it. I think maybe Judy, I don't know who is in charge of projects or that kind of thing. You can take a look at it and you can see if there's something that perhaps you might be interested in helping us with. And at that, I would like to ask, I think I lost a lot of time with the power outage and trying to get the video going. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think we'll have time because we're already way past
There,
our
that's what I was
hour.
thinking. I was trying to
know.
hurry really fast. Yeah.
So I think, and we did fund the rebuilding of the palapa.
Right,
In
exactly.
the area so the kids would have a place to sit under shade.
Yes.
And we'll certainly look at your list and hope we can help out even further, Nancy. And we'll also invite you to be a member of our club as well. So I'll send you that information.
I enjoy even just listening to the conversation. So it's a great opportunity. And thank you so much for letting me be here and give this whatever brief information. I look forward to having you all come and visit in Manzanillo. Whatever problems are underground, that's underground. Tourists are in great shape. It's a wonderful, beautiful place, and you can sell fish, you can golf, you can do 100 different beautiful things. So come and visit.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Nancy, could you put your email address in the chat, please?
I did. It's in the chat box. Also put the name of 2 books that Nancy has written regarding.
Absolutely fascinating books. They're about her life.
I see the website, but I don't see an email address.
Oh, email address?
It's Nancy, Nancy at.
Can you put it in the chat box?
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's good.
Nancy at tcfcares.org.
Our project services person, Nancy, is disguised as a pirate here today.
Oh, great. I love it. I love it.
I thought that was the Willie Nelson wannabe.
Yeah.
Well, after wearing this, I know I never want long hair.
Yeah. Well, you're the very one I need to, as a pirate, bringing that stuff. You can bring it in by ship.
And Jim has been there, Nancy. Jim has been to.
Jim.
The year that we had the past district governors going to Project Amigo, then we went to Manzanillo and he's been to visit as well.
Yeah. Well, and look some of you look a little bit familiar. I don't know if I've seen you at maybe on one of our tours or in Manzanillo or where, but anyway, except you guys from Madrid. You don't look familiar, but I'd love to go back to Madrid and visit Spain. It's one of my favorite places.
Absolutely.
Nancy, where's your home base? Just out of curiosity.
Well, right now I'm in Houston. In the U.S., you mean? I'm in
Yes.
Houston, but Manzanillo it's been my consistent place for the last 40 years. During a lot of that time I was in Colorado, but I moved back to my birthplace, which is Houston. So that's where I am right now. And you, where are you at, Neil? Are you?
I'm from the southern tip of Nova Scotia.
Southern tip of Nova Scotia. Okay, wow. That's another place I want to visit. I have a wanderlust. I love to travel. I love to visit. So that would be great. And you're welcome in Houston anytime, or if you'd like to have me visit, I'm more than happy to come, in person if you ever start having your meetings, live.
Well, our meetings are all virtual.
Yeah.
Because we're all over the place.
I see that. That's wonderful.
So we do pod meetings. Yeah.
And are you going to the International Convention in Calgary next June?
I have not even, I don't even know about it. So I'm sure that it will come up. I mean, we're
gonna have 25 to 30,000 people coming, and we're all going, most of us.
All right.
It's the RI International Convention, the big one.
Fantastic. I think you should invite the Ballet Folkloric to come in to perform for that.
Well, it's about 5 years too late to apply for that. But
it takes that long to get visas. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be great. I love Calgary. I love Alberta. Canada's great. I've been to Toronto. I haven't been to in Canmore. I see one of you is from Canmore. Beautiful places. So we performed in Canmore, by the way. That first year, I think it was the first or the second time that we were in Alberta.
Oh, yeah. Olds. Were you in Olds too?
We were in Olds.
Yeah.
We were in well, of course, Edmonton. We were in Olds. We were in
Leduc.
Leduc, yes, yes, and with Gord Lewis was there, and then we were in two other places, something River, High River. Is it High River?
Yeah.
East River?
High River.
What was?
High
Yeah,
River.
and then and then one other place south of Calgary. Loved it, loved it. Our kids loved it. They want to go back. We'd love to have, you know, that opportunity again. So, yeah, love Alberta, and we did 2 trips there. We did 2 tours.
Yeah.
I want to thank our coordinator of these fellowship assemblies, Kim Dominguez, today for an excellent program. Well done, Kim. 2 very interesting guest speakers, both sort of in similar veins, but not. And really exciting, Alain, to have you with us. Merci beaucoup. À la prochaine. And also to Nancy for another heart-inspiring story. It's been a wonderful meeting today. Sorry we kept you so long, and I apologize for my Zoom ineptness today. I'm not sure what happened. I had it all ready to go. So, but thank you.
Outstanding meeting. Thank you so
Great.
much.
It was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
very much for this opportunity. We'll see you, Judy.
Yeah.
We'll see you.
Good to see you. I'm in Puerto Vallarta right now.
Bye, Jim. Come on down. Come
Bye,
back down.
everybody.
Okay.
Nancy,
Bye.
sorry, Kim, can you just wait a second, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Alain.
And Angel, thank you for bringing your guests. We really enjoyed meeting them. Hopefully they'll come to a coffee chat.
Well, you can say it to them in person. Miguel, I think, is here. Is there
He's
still?
still there? Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, very good. So nice. I hope we didn't discourage you with our technicalities.
It was
today.
wonderful. It was wonderful. Thank you. Talking about technical issues, the audio of my phone is giving me the sound of the meeting through the ear, side. So I had to be with my ear close to the